Hebron is the largest Palestinian city in the West Bank, the only one where Israeli settlements are inside the city itself. Hebron has been split in two since 1997. 80% is under Palestinian control, the remaining 20%, also called H2, is administered by Israel. 40,000 Palestinians live in H2 among 800 settlers. The close proximity between the two communities creates frictions on a daily basis. What you see behind me is the Cave of the Patriarchs. It's not only a holy site to Judaism, Christianity and Islam, but also a site charged with historical symbolism. And this is where we will start our tour of Hebron. Our guide is a former sergeant in the Israeli army, now member of Breaking the Silence, an Israeli organization of veterans exposing the harsh reality of daily life in the Palestinian territories. This was the scene of two major massacres. How have these events changed and shaped the relationship between Palestinians and Israelis?
So the 1929 massacre was a massacre that 67 Jews were killed here. The 1994 massacre was a settler coming in here, shooting and killing 29 Palestinians praying inside the mosque. But the 29th massacre is more of like, is now feeding the narrative of the settler movement, saying like, Jews were killed here, we're Jews, we're allowed to do whatever we want inside this place. 94 massacre kind of like shaped the reality of the Palestinians here.
The 1994 massacre, carried out by far-right settler Baruch Goldstein, led to the separation principle, whereby large empty buffer areas are built around settlements for security reasons.
All the purple areas is territories where Palestinians are not allowed to drive. All the stripy areas where Palestinians are not allowed to open shops, yeah? And all the red areas is what we call sterile zones. Territories where Palestinians are not allowed to walk even.
We walked into the sterile zone. The main street, called the Shuhada Street, was once a bustling Palestinian market area in the heart of the old center. It's now completely deserted.
This is like Fifth Avenue of Hebron used to be. And the truth is it's all empty. Why? Security reasons. We sterilize the territory so settlers can continue. So settlers invade places they're not allowed to be, and then the army comes and secure them.
Across the occupied territories, soldiers are asked to make their presence felt. What does it mean?
So making our presence felt is one of the most basic way. It's kind of a doctrine for us to control the occupied territories. Making our presence felt is a way for us to make sure that all the population is scared of us at all time. In that way, we can control them better.
Over 1,800 businesses were closed in the city center. Front doors welded down, no matter whether Palestinians were still living there. Only 5 families have stayed, challenging curfews, violence and harassment.
Putting the fence, I still receive stones. If you look up here, it's full of stones. The settlers stand up there and throw stones at the house. When this front door was closed, the neighbors made an opening in the wall so that I can go in and out. Yes, we need to cooperate.
Another of the last Palestinian residents on Shuhada Street complains about settlers' attacks and the army's random night incursions. He also told us Israel has been tightening its grip on Palestinian residents to force them out of the area.
Since 1994 until today, little by little, they're closing the area, adding checkpoints here, gates there, new ways in. Day after day, they continue to close in on us until we're suffocated. And today, anyone that wants to get in needs a special number on his ID. I'm going to show you. So if you don't have this kind of number, you don't get through the checkpoint.
Daily tensions between Israeli settlers, soldiers and Palestinian civilians often end up in clashes and sometimes even murders. B'Tselem, the Israeli Information Center for Human Rights in the occupied territories, says the Israeli side acts with impunity.
So settler violence is a constant factor of life in the occupied territories in the West Bank. Numerous cases of killings of Palestinians. And in the case of security forces, 97% of the time, based on our data, either an investigation isn't even opened, or even if it is open, no one is held accountable, no one is brought even to trial.
Settlers lament systematic Palestinian attacks, stabbing attempts and stone throwing. In the past 10 years, 60 Israeli civilians, including settlers, were reported killed by Palestinians in the West Bank. Over 400 Palestinian civilians were killed by the army or by Israeli civilians.
We condemn every violence. We are against every violence. And if it happened, I'm not sure. If it happened, we condemn it and we are against it. I hope the Shuhada Street will be open when the whole town will be open. What is impossible is to put the Jews into this ghetto, and then Jews are being attacked and shot by terrorists from around, and then say that this street must be open for free movement that might include terrorists.
More than any other place on the West Bank, Hebron shows the difficulty of sharing the land between Palestinians and Israelis, and the remote possibility of finding peace.